Hi, so today we're going to be talking about topics in academic preparedness, and that's going to include time management, reading improvement, so we're going to talk about method of doing that, and we're also going to talk about a note-taking strategy. Okay, so one of the first aspects of time management is procrastination, being aware of the symptoms of procrastination, and also talking about some of the solutions to procrastination. Also, organization skills are one of the things that we're going to be covering, and that includes some goals to set for yourself, some tools you can use to stick to those goals, and some strategies that will help you along the way. So, some of the things that might be familiar to you if you have an issue with procrastination in terms of the sort of things that you would say to yourself or what have you. Might be that you tell yourself that if you ignore an assignment that is due, it may go away. If you just watch TV or check your Facebook or whatever for like 5 minutes, you'll totally be fine, and then you go back and do your assignment, but you never wind up doing that assignment. You say, it totally won't take me that long. Like, say you have been told that it takes about an hour to complete something, and you think you'll do it in a half an hour, and then you do it in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. That is another symptom of procrastination. And if you say to yourself, oh, this other thing is totally more important. For example, I am going to go visit my friend for a little while, or I have this errand to run or something along those lines. Probably not more important than completing all of your assignments. And if you skip parts of an assignment that you have trouble with, you do the ones that you're good at, and then all the ones that you find a little bit challenging, you just don't finish. That is a procrastination issue. The assignments are there to help you learn things that you might not be already comfortable with. If you spend so much time thinking about what to do for an assignment that you don't actually get it done, that is another symptom of procrastination. What it might feel like having procrastination issues is overwhelming. You get overwhelmed by too many things and you can't get them all done. You feel like you don't have the skills or the knowledge to get this thing done. The assignment or task has no meaning to you and seems irrelevant. Or you give yourself goals that you can never reach, namely, you're a perfectionist, and you feel discouraged when you don't reach them. You don't know what's expected of you. Or you see that you have all of these other problems going on in your life outside of school, and it seems like you can't deal with that and school as well. Another feeling of procrastination. So now let's talk about how to beat it. You have to diagnose procrastination, figure out what may be causing you to procrastinate. You have to preview what it's going to look like to not be procrastinating. Plan what you're going to do to get yourself out of that hole of being late on assignments and not completing things. Schedule times where you're going to be doing those things and get it started. And also important, get it done. So, to diagnose, you have to sort of figure out why you're procrastinating. And one reason might be perfectionism. You feel like if you can't meet these goals that may or may not be realistic, you don't see why you're doing it. You feel discouraged. You think you don't have the right skills to do this perfectly right now, so I just won't do it at all. You might feel overwhelmed. Again, doubting that you have the skills or the resources to do this thing that you think you might need, so you do tasks only that you know you're capable of completing, but the other task is not going to go away. Really important ones do not typically do that. And another one is, oops, I'm going to go back one step there. Okay. Being disorganized, we're just going to stick with this one. Being disorganized is another really big issue for people. If you're organized, you manage to avoid procrastination a little more easily because you have things that are able to keep you a bit on track, like to-do lists or schedules or things that sort of map out how long something is going to take, so you have an idea of what is ahead of you. Another issue for people is that they find the task really unpleasant, but honestly, a lot of jobs or tasks or assignments have unpleasant or boring parts of them, and you more or less need to get over it, not to put too fine a point on it. And another issue is being indecisive. For people who are indecisive and you can't figure out what you're going to do, you're more likely to put off taking action just in case you do the wrong thing. But it's better to do a wrong thing than to do nothing at all. So, to beat procrastination, you're going to want to start by previewing what you're going to be doing. Just scan the assignment, look over it briefly, and sort of get a sense of what's going to be expected, what is going to be covered by the assignment, and if at that point you have any questions, it'd be a good idea to ask them then. So if your professor hands something out, just give it a glance, and if there's anything on it that you don't understand, ask your professor about it. So then you're going to plan. You're going to make a short list of goals that you need to meet in the short term in order to complete your task. So this would be sort of like a to-do list kind of thing. And breaking down a major project into smaller pieces that you have a little list of that you can take care of one at a time really helps a lot. So another thing is to make a schedule. You're going to sort of guesstimate based on past experience how long it's going to take you to complete the things that you've added to your to-do list. Then you're going to add them to your weekly planner, and we can talk about that soon when we get to the tools section here. But it's a good thing to have. And you're going to want to try to be flexible and realistic, so don't set impossible goals given the amount of time that you have. And if you do wind up not meeting one of the goals that you have, it's totally fine to just move things around a bit until you find another time to do it. So, getting started and getting it done. After doing all of those previously mentioned steps, you should be good to go. So keep the appointments that you've made with yourself in your weekly planner. And if you're still having a difficulty starting off, if you stick with those appointments, sit with your plan and do anything related to that. So if you've definitely been doing some thinking about your assignment at this point, so it'd be a good idea for you to represent your thoughts visually or to speak them aloud. For some projects, like those that have a lot of writing involved, it may also be helpful to free write, just more or less write or type whatever comes into your head. And after you do that, you should be all right to go. Just keep those appointments. And wait, what? That's weird. Back on track. So once you've done those things, you should be able to get started. So whenever you complete something, just give yourself a reward, like take a break, get yourself something nice, hang out with people, call somebody on the phone who you've really been wanting to talk to, watch that episode of your favorite show, and so on and so forth. So, getting organized. You're going to have to set goals for yourself, use some tools to get there, and you're going to have to set up some strategies and prioritize a little bit. So some goals here, some aspects of goals actually. Goals should be specific. You're going to want to break up goals into small and specific tasks, and you can do that with anything, like reading even. So you'd say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, well, in this case it's math, or something along those lines, but you're going to want to spend 30 minutes solving problems at the end of Chapter 4. And that's in contrast to something like spend some time working on chemistry. They're going to be measurable. You want to have short, measurable goals that will help you stay on track. The example above is an example of it being measurable because you've got the minutes, you've got the section that you're going to be doing this with, so that kind of thing helps. And it should be attainable, so you should be able to complete your goal. It's a different thing studying for 20 hours a week than it is to study for 40, and if you set yourself an unrealistic goal or unattainable goal, you might feel down about not having met it. It also should be realistic. So saying that you're going to get all A's this semester is great, but if you don't do that, you could wind up feeling defeated, and it also isn't very specific or measurable. Well, it's measurable, but it's not very specific. It doesn't tell you how to do it. So maybe just say, instead, I'm going to attend all of my classes and study for 3 hours daily. That might even get you the A's that you're looking for. And it should be timely. A goal should be timely, so don't procrastinate. Instead of saying that you're going to start something tomorrow, say, I'll just do some reading today and outline some of my thoughts, and then I will start that tomorrow, and then actually start it tomorrow. So here are some tools for organization. There are daily to-do lists, which are really helpful, weekly planner, also very good, and a semester calendar. So a daily to-do list is just a short list that you write out every day of things that you really want to accomplish throughout the course of your day. You can do them the night before you wake up. You could write the list up the night before, maybe during dinner or something, or you can write the list out when you wake up in the morning so that you have something at the start of your day to get you through the rest of that day. And these goals can be written out quickly and easily on anything. A notepad, a scrap piece of paper, sticky notes, phone, email that you send to yourself, Facebook update. Doesn't really matter. Those are some examples. But as long as it's something that you can go in and check off or cross out goals as you complete them. And they're good for blending things that aren't part of your regular schedule too. So if you need to make an appointment with a doctor or an advisor or, I don't know, mechanic or something. And another use they may have is if you've been procrastinating and really need to get started on an assignment, you can put that on your to-do list. Just get started on assignment on your to-do list and cross that off when you get done with that. So there's a weekly planner also, and they are little grids upon which you can map out what you are going to be doing during the hours of the week ahead of you for every day of the week ahead of you. And there are templates that you can print out online if you just do a quick Google search of weekly planner templates. A bunch of those will pop up. And you can also get yourself those bound agendas. I don't know if they still go those out in middle and high school, but I remember I used to get one when I was a kid. And you can also do an online calendar, and Google has one of these, which I think is really helpful. So I am going to click on that right now, and we're going to check out what that looks like as an example. Okay. That should have already been signed in, but that's fine. Okay, so here is the Google Calendar. Very easy. Say you get out of class at 4:30, and at 5 o'clock you want to start your study math. Then you can edit the event. And it's helpful sometimes to color code things. So if you have a school event, you can click off the orange box there. Your favorite cafe can be a place to study, and that's an important thing too, is to pick out a good place for you to study. So let's say you want to spend 45 minutes covering new material, 15 minutes reviewing last week's material, and let's say you want to spend a little bit more time. So another 30 minutes of new material. You can change that up there too. So when you're done with that, click Save, and now you've got a handy little weekly planner bubble there. So that's fast, it's easy. You can also do a search for a template, which you can then print out and have with you. So those are also helpful. And a lot of them have little hour blocks of time you can fill in. Use color coding if you want to for those. And just find one that is right for you. Okay. So when you're using your weekly planner, you're going to want to block off hours of time based on what you know you'll be doing. So things that you know you'll have to be doing, like your courses, you know where you're going to be, when you're going to be there. So block those out ahead of time. And a lot of the time when you do that, you find out that you have a lot of free time that you could be using to study that you're using just sort of waiting or worrying about something or whatever it is you do with those free blocks of time. And once you have your obligations in front of you, you can pick those times that you do have free for studying and any other tasks that you know you want to do throughout the week. So say you exercise 4 days a week, you can put that on there. And all of those other little things that you do with your time on a regular basis go on that weekly planner. Semester calendars are another useful thing. They're good for writing down the dates of major academic events like midterms, finals, or exams, other exams, and when you have to turn in that semester-long essay you've been working on so that it doesn't catch you off guard, and then you are not prepared, or you turn in your assignment late and maybe it doesn't get accepted and you get a C or a D when you were expecting a B or an A. And they're usually available on college websites, so you can just print that out, or you can go to any number of the administrative offices that they have there and pick one up. Or you can just get a regular hang-on-the-wall kind of calendar and put or you can print one of those out too, and then you just put those dates in there, those important dates. And post it on a wall where you spend a lot of time. So if you spend a lot of time by your computer, put it next to your computer. And you're going to want to check things off as you complete them, and that'll probably feel really rewarding. Oh, I finished this assignment, turned it in, I am good. I'm going to get an awesome grade this semester. And don't forget to, we're going to talk about some strategies now. So don't forget to relax. You shouldn't be spending all of your waking hours hard at work. Otherwise, you'll burn out, and you'll have to take a semester off or something, and you don't want to do that. So you're going to want to set aside blocks of time to take a breather, have fun, exercise, spend time with friends, have relationships, whatever you want to do with your time. And you'll want to leave some flexibility for unexpected events, leaving a little wiggle room in your day so that you aren't constantly rushing around if things take a little longer than you expected them to. And if you plan out every single hour and things take a little longer or go by a little faster than you expected them to, you can totally rearrange things, and that might be a good thing to keep in mind in terms of how long it takes you to do things. And if there's new priorities that come up, then you can do that instead if it's very important. And you should reward yourself and build it into your schedule too. It's more productive to spend 3 hours studying where you have a good study session and then you talk on the phone or watch a show or you hang out with some friends for the next 45 minutes or longer than it would be if you spent 4 hours, if you were distracted, not really interested, thinking about, oh, I'd rather be doing this thing, and so on and so forth. You want to plan your study space. Should be somewhere well lit and with very few distractions, but whatever works best for you works best for you. I really like studying in cafes, as you may have seen when I did the Google Calendar demonstration thing. And those aren't always quiet or well lit, but they work for me to get the stuff done that I need to get done. And you should write down everything. More or less, that's just following the time management tools advice. You have to plan everything out, write stuff down. If you have a thought, make a note, that kind of thing. When distractions knock, answer the door. This may seem counterintuitive, but if there's something distracting you, give it your full attention for a few moments. That way, it might help you to get that out of your mind. And if you are thinking about something but not actually paying attention to it, it may wind up lingering in the back of your mind and you'll just pay like half attention to whatever you're working on, and you don't want to do that. So this is another section, reading improvement. There is a method for doing that called the SQR3 method. It is survey, question, read, recall, and review. The survey part of this, before you sit down and actually read something, you want to skim the chapter, glance at the headings, the subheadings, the section highlights of a chapter, anything that's like boxed off, big bold letters. This is more useful for textbooks, obviously, than, say, if you're reading novels for a course, but it's a good practice to get into. And it'll generate a sense of the content of a chapter and also give you a context for what you're going to need to remember. And you want to keep in mind a few major questions about what you're going to be reading. This is the question section of the method. So some typical questions that you'd want to ask ahead of time before you start reading something is, what is this chapter about? And that's getting into some detail about what exactly is going on in this chapter. What question is this chapter trying to answer? What evidence is there to support this information? What are the applications of this information? How does this information help me? So at that point you would read, but you would want to keep those questions in mind along with the general idea of what's going on in this chapter from your previous skimming of the chapter, the glancing and survey thing that you did first before doing anything else. Then you will want to recite, so either in writing or out loud, answer all of the questions that you asked before you read the chapter. And review. And this is something that was covered actually in the previous video, which I hope all of you watched, from Dartmouth. And for this step, you're going to compress or distill the information that is the most important from the chapter onto a study sheet or some index cards or other visual aids that you find helpful. I prefer the study sheet. You can do more than one of them. Might be good to do more than one of them. And then you can use those tools to practice recalling key phrases and concepts either alone through recitation or in a group of people testing and reteaching fellow students about the concepts. All right, so we're on to the note-taking part of this. Now, the Cornell note-taking system is very useful for taking effective notes and then effectively reviewing them later on. So you have your notebook at the start of class, and whenever you turn the page, draw a line down the page. Actually isn't supposed to go that far, but let's pretend that I didn't go past this line right here. So this is going to be your notes section. I apologize for my bad mouse handling skills, but that's your notes section. This is your cue section, and this is your summary section. Okay, so that was fun. I'm going to go back to the arrow now and never do that again. So the notes section you're going to use during class. That's the biggest section of your paper. It's on the upper and right side of your notebook. You're going to want to be concise, try to get as much information onto the paper as possible while the lecture is going on. Use abbreviations and shorthand, things that you will recognize later on. Make lists, separate things out from major category to subcategory, and so on and so forth. You're going to want to leave a lot of space between major points. So if you have two very important points, write them in big letters and a little bit far away from each other. And it's also helpful to use symbols consistently. So if you use an asterisk to mean something, make sure that it means that for the rest of the thing. If you use a circle with a squiggly line through the middle of it to mean one thing in one section, use that to mean the same thing in other sections. I didn't put it on here, but I can't emphasize enough that it is very useful to sort of break things down a little bit during your notes. So have a major category like, let's say you're talking about methodology, and then you're going to start talking about different kinds of errors, for example. So you don't want to break that out into a bulleted list of different kinds of sampling errors or whatever kind of errors you might be dealing with in that case. Okay, so the cue section, that's the skinny section on the left side there, and you're going to want to use this during review, not right in that act while you're actually taking notes in the class. And you're going to use that to ask and answer questions connecting the points of a lecture as you have it written out on your notes. And that's sort of like the study sheet where you distill information into when you're doing review in general, except it's right in your notebook. It's already there for you. And that way when you're going back through your notes, you can use that as a reference point. You can make diagrams, study prompts, important words you'd write in there, so on and so forth. And the summary section, also used during review, is only going to be the main ideas presented in a lecture, and that's something that you can just like glance quickly at and be like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what's on this page. And then you can look maybe at the notes a little more closely when you find the thing that you want. So to review, cue section, main ideas, questions that connect points, diagrams, prompts to help you study, used during review. Summary section also used during review. It's going to be the top level main ideas and just going to be a quick reference, helps to figure out what you've got on the page there. And the notes section is what you use to take notes during your class. And that is the end of our show. Thank you all for viewing, and I hope that you will take the time to fill out the survey afterward.